Welcome to hell. There is no escape. There is no escape. You are in my control now. Welcome to hell.
Welcome to hell, everybody. Welcome to Hell Team Doom for another episode of Let's Talk About Horror, where your nightmares and reality meet. And it's your boy Walterdoom back, and I got a special guest with me today. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yep. If you guys don't know him, this is Audie Harrison. He is a writer, director, executive producer, and I mean the production credits. It's bananas. Like, we're talking Trick or Treat Scooby Doo, Uncle Grandpa. You are a production assistant for Punch Drunk Love, which is interesting, man. That's one of my favorite movies as a kid, man.
Oh yeah, I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I mean that's a glorified credit for sure. I mean, we were a part of crowd control on the big stunt at the beginning when the car when
they got into the car crash.
The car crash, yeah, at the beginning, we were keeping people away from the danger zone. But yeah, I mean, I love that I have that credit because I love that movie.
Yeah, but not only that, you also did some work on Robot Chicken, and I am a fan of Robot Chicken. I love it. I mean, I haven't seen every episode of it, but whenever it came on when I was in college, whenever it came on, it will be the one thing I'm just glued on.
It's that was a real treat because I just did some storyboards on it, and they have a team of writers, and they bring in storyboard artists to sort of visualize how it should be played out. But I went in to get the pick up the script and talk to the director, and they were like, "Do you like Dune? Do you know anything about the movie Dune?" I'm like, "Oh my god, that's one of my favorite movies, like the original David Lynch Dune." I mean, it's got some problems, but it's close to my heart anyway. I was like, I love Dune, so I got to storyboard like a Dune spoof on Robot Chicken. So it was like a double amazing thing because of that.
Nice. But yeah, I mean, you did also a production internship for the show Cat Dog, which is another show I watched as a kid, man.
That was my very first credit as an intern. Yeah, it was actually before I even went to school for animation. I just sent out a bunch of letters and got lucky and got in there and got to see how TV shows were made for the first time.
Yeah, that is very amazing. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk to him today, everyone. So if you want to follow your boy Walterdoom on the social medias, those social medias are Walterdoom on Instagram, the Walterdoom on TikTok and not Instagram on, oh my god, what's the bird at Twitter? I swear I'm forgetting Elon's platform because he's making it so terrible to me.
Oh my god. Ugh, so gross.
Yeah, Walterdoom Horror on YouTube and Walterdoom wherever else is streaming on with any podcast. Audie, if you want people to follow you, what are your social medias?
I mean, I'm on Twitter, just Audie Harrison, one word. Also for this project, we've got Instagram, Headbanger Movie, all one word. Facebook, same thing. Actually, no, Facebook is just Headbanger. And what else? That's about it. Oh, okay. And my website, audieharrison.com, will show you everything I do.
See, I was looking at your interview with I believe it was with Southgate Media, and you were talking about how like all your platform is just like all your name, just
Yeah,
slip
yeah.
off
I
because
mean,
it's so
I'm
unique.
lucky that I have a kind of a unique name, and I mean I grabbed those email addresses and stuff way early on. I'm sure now people figure out every possible name configuration and want you to pay for it,
Oh
um,
yeah,
but yeah, no,
yeah,
I've been fortunate that I get to use my name.
yeah. You're lucky. I wasn't so fortunate, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I have so many like different variations of my name on the socials.
Yeah, well, Walterdoom is good.
Yeah, yeah. It was so crazy because like when I started my Twitter for my podcast as Walterdoom, someone already had it. I was like, who
Of
the
course,
hell
of
has
course.
Walterdoom of
They
all
they
of
take
all
every
names?
name and put Doom at the end of it, and they've got it covered.
I had to be Walter Doom 1 for the longest. It was
Oh
insane.
no. Oh,
So I am like sitting here like, you know what? I am glad that you were able to, make your Twitter account, no issues, all
I almost shut down my Twitter account when Elon took over, and then I was like, but then if it ever changes and I want to get it back, like I won't have my name again. It was literally like the deciding factor. Like I shut it down for a while, and then I had there was like a grace period where you could restart it, and I was like, I guess I'll do it. And then I've been using it to promote this movie, and that's about it. I was never really on there as an avid user to begin with, but
yeah.
I'm learning about it as I try to get the word out about this film.
Hey, there's a lot of us that have it for several years and use it avidly, and we're still learning because he's changing it so much.
It's always changing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely not a power user of any social media. It's a big learning curve for me.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Kanye was crazy with how he changes his albums. I mean, I'm like, yo, Elon is outdoing him right now.
Oh man,
So-
oh, it's ridiculous. It's just
yeah.
crazy.
Yep. So we're gonna go ahead and start with talking to you about your movie Headbangers, which is what you're promoting right now. It's an Indiegogo funded film. And I gotta say, I do like the fact that you're doing it this way because I watched a movie that was funded through Indiegogo. It was called Charles is like a YouTube fan fiction movie based on Child's Play. And they took about, I want to say almost 3 years to create this movie because they had to create the production for everything. I mean, they had to outsource the funding for the movie. They were doing everything with practical effects, and I mean, the finished job looks amazing. It's a little goofy, but I like goofy horror movies, But it definitely like drives home as like a nice little alternative competitor for like any Child's Play series. So
awesome.
Yeah, so I want to start by asking you, what is Headbangers and what is it about?
Headbanger is a horror comedy set during the satanic panic hysteria of the 1980s, like back when there was like this, everyone thought heavy metal was going to turn people, heavy metal and all kinds of things, movies, books, video games, was going to turn kids into evil demons and make them do terrible things, so
Ozzy Osbourne and everything.
Yeah, like it's gonna make. I mean, there were little cases of kids, who were probably depressed and had other issues going on, who killed themselves and things like that, and the parents were trying to blame Ozzy Osbourne and Judas Priest and all these other bands. And the fact is, and the research shows now that heavy metal is probably the only good thing in their life. Their love of music, it was the only thing kind of keeping them going. But yeah, it's set in that time period, and it's about a young metalhead named Mark, whose mother is super overbearing and always on his case about his clothes and his hair and his, especially that music he listens to, that evil heavy metal, and she thinks it's going to make him do terrible things and warp his mind and all this stuff, and it's getting worse and worse every day for poor Mark. She's bought him a whole new wardrobe. And she scheduled a haircut for the next day. I mean, the stakes are high. Mark's got to do something, and he's kind of scared of his mom. His mom's kind of like very overbearing, very very frightening. She's a very strict lady.
Is she like Carrie? I can't remember her last name. I think it's White from the Carrie movie. Is she like her
Yeah,
mom?
she's like totally inspired by that Piper Laurie, I think is
Yeah.
the actress's name. But yeah, she's like that. She's just demonic. She's demonic, you know. But anyway, she's closing in on. So Mark and his headbanger friends are, you know, they get together. What am I gonna do? You know, and they concoct this crazy plan to use hypnosis to hypnotize her, so that he can turn the tables on her and control her. And now she'll do whatever he wants her to do. And it works, you know. Suddenly he's got the coolest mom in town, and she's like letting him use her credit cards to buy records and concert tickets and stuff. And life is great. And Mark's like, I'm gonna throw the coolest, biggest party ever. I'm gonna invite all my friends, and this is gonna be great. I'll invite my girlfriend who just broke up with me because, you know, I couldn't stand up to my mom, so she thinks I'm a weakling. I'm gonna prove to her I can stand up to my mom. Anyway, so he throws this huge party and things are going great. And but meanwhile, his mother starts hearing that heavy metal music and those lyrics that have these specific instructions, ironically, to do bad things. And because she has no free will, she starts murdering all of his friends in these crazy over the top ways that, you know, these wild heavy metal songs inspire. And so, you know, and Mark catches wind of it and he's like, oh my God, I've created a monster, you know. And this whole thing is sort of like a heavy metal version of Frankenstein. He created this monster and he's got to destroy the monster. He's got to stop this monster before the news media and the world gets a hold of this, or hears about the fact that heavy metal actually seems to do make people do bad things. So he's got to stop it before that happens and save heavy metal. And you know, and to show the world that, you know, heavy metal is not about doing bad things. It's about joy, and it's about catharsis, and it's about, you know, it's just music, man. So yeah, that's the movie. You know, it's a sort of an exploration of free will and all that. You know, we've got some wild characters. We got a robot character. We got an evil televangelist who's actually a puppet. Like clearly he's just a puppet. And literally a puppet. And so yeah, the whole thing is, you know, who's the puppet master, who's the puppet, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's the movie in a huge heavy metal nutshell.
yeah. I do like the fact that the mom is going from like Carrie to Stepford Wives, but in a way she's like Stepford mom.
Yeah, and you know, and at the end of it, she's learned what it's like to have no control over her life, which is how her son has always felt. And so by the end of it, she might actually come around to liking heavy metal too. So
nice.
And it's you know, it's a horror movie, but it's over the top ridiculous at the same time.
Oh yeah. If you could compare it to an over the top movie, the first thing I'm thinking of is like Hobo with the Shotgun or Psycho Gorman.
Oh, I love those movies. I love those movies. You know, the way I pitch it is it's like Rock and Roll High School meets Evil Dead meets Airplane. You know, it's got like the rock and roll element, it's got the you know, the musical element, it's got the crazy camera angles and gore and things like that from Evil Dead and Dead Alive and those kinds of movies. But also the comedy itself is, you know, I'm a huge fan of the Zucker brothers movies like Airplane, Naked Gun. Very cartoony stuff, which is definitely what we're going for.
See, I feel like talking about cartoon, the one cartoony comedy movies that I remember when I was a kid, because I never got a chance to watch Airplane or I know about Naked Gun, but I never watched the movies before. But I did watch a lot of like the Wayans brothers movies, like scary movies.
Oh yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Yeah, that cartoony, just ridiculous. Everything is for the laugh. Everything is for the laugh, and I love those kind of movies. And they don't make those kind of movies enough anymore.
No, I wish they would. Like the last thing I watched it with my girlfriend, and we were watching Not Another Teen Movie.
Mhm.
And it's so 2000s, like so early 2000s with the
Oh my
bad
God.
haircuts,
Yeah, yeah.
the bad
It's
like
so good.
romantic comedy storylines and everything that used to go
Yeah.
on in the early 2000s.
Oh my God.
I was like, yes, they need to make more movies like this because this is hilarious. This is fun. It's like it's fun to kind of like, especially if you're somebody that watches a lot of film, kind of like point out all the plot holes or things that are wrong. And it's just like it's there for comedic value.
It's great. I love those. I love that. I love it's. I guess those are like it's like a spoof, right? They're spoofs, but they're done just for the comedy of it. And so this movie has a lot of that element. This really ridiculous characters, and it's it's gonna be a fun movie for sure.
I love that. So, what is the inspiration for the movie Headbanger?
Well, it's sort of it's something that's been sort of I've been working on for a while. Take like seriously working on as a screenplay and as a story and developing it for a while. But I was in a heavy metal band in high school, way back early '90s. It was sort of at the peak just before heavy metal sort of just disintegrated into
Yeah.
grunge, and then grunge went away, and then what turned into new metal, and it's just like, oh, it's
Yeah.
a mess. But this was like early '90s. It's like the Metallica's Black Album had just come out. It was sort of the peak of like Megadeth and Slayer and uh, Anthrax and
Mhm.
all those types of bands. And I was in a band like that. We covered a lot of those songs, and we were called Section 8. And we played at friends parties. We played at like Battle of the Bands at various
Oh,
schools around
nice.
town. We were in a very small town, but at that point, but there was a lot of venues that let us play there. We would play at bars and stuff, but we were too young to even drink, and somehow we were like they allowed us to play at these bars,
The
and
good old 90s, man. You
I
gotta
know there's no way that could happen now.
love
But they looked the other way, and it was super fun. Like nothing like playing on stage even if it's a crowd of 5 people, it's so fun. Um,
Did you
but
guys feel like celebrities in your small town?
a little bit, we were sort of like little rock stars, at our school, and I mean, we never like broke out and like did anything. We recorded a couple like crappy little tapes. We had a crappy
Mhm.
little 4-track player and uh, recorded some stuff, but we weren't like totally like like protested against or anything like that. But there was concern from our parents and some of the teachers are like, I don't know, like
Mhm.
this is kind of and you get weird looks from other kids, who are like, we're walking
Of
around
course.
our long hair. I had like huge long hair and like black t-shirts and stuff. I was like made straight A. Like I was like a good kid. Like I was friends with like the metalheads and like I guess the more normal people too. I was but yeah, but there was that element, and just from our parents, but also just reading about bands and the times. It's like heavy metal's evil. It's gonna make you do bad things,
Yeah.
and I remember having conversations with my parents. I mean, they weren't even again. They let us practice in our garage and stuff. Like they were cool, but like they were like, what is it about heavy metal? Like why do you like that? It's like for me, it was theatrical. The scary aspect of it. It's like this is like a horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I distinctly remember thinking about the way people were coming down on it, and it's like how could you possibly hear a song and then just because someone said something in a song, like I'm gonna do that. Like you hear people
Right.
say things all the time on TV and in public, and like
Right.
you're not just a robot who's gonna go and do what you hear.
Mhm.
So that was the idea. It's like you'd have to have no free will of your own or be a complete idiot.
That's what I say too. Like, there's like, it doesn't make sense how anybody could blame music for somebody doing ill will in the world.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a million other things that I think uh, in someone's life that could affect them in various ways. But music at its worst is just like catharsis, So
Yeah.
so that idea was sort of a seed, and and then I kind of got out of music and went into school for animation and filmmaking, and but that love of music and metal especially was always there, and I always wanted to do something with that, and that was the idea to explore for sure.
That's cool. So kind of backtracking a little bit, since we did talk about a little bit about the controversies of music, what is the most outrageous story that you've heard that you could remember about someone saying like, "Oh my God, this music is evil. Like, what's wrong with it?"
Oh my God. I I mean, I've got a lot of crazy stories of being in the band, but it's what I keep looking at and reading as we were writing this was like, I think it was in 1985. They had the Parents Music Research Center or Council, who created the explicit lyrics sticker on all the all the records. They had these Senate hearings, where they were like trying to, the government, the Senate, and Tipper Gore was like the lead of the PMRC. They were coming down on music, and you had Frank Zappa and John Denver show up to speak on behalf of music. But the best was Dee Snider from Twisted Sister shows up, and he comes in with a t-shirt and his crazy hair and sits down, and he's super articulate and spells out exactly why their argument is so ridiculous. And to me, that's like, that's super, super inspiring. And so I guess like it just shows how ridiculous that is. And looking back at that time, we've got like way crazier stuff going on now. And it's like,
oh yeah.
Like they were upset about music. Like that is absurd. It's just, and like, even Twisted Sister, like you listen to it now, it's like, it's just like funny rock and roll. Like it's not even like, it's not death metal, it's not screaming, it's like an anthem, it's like fun, and anyway. So yeah, I mean, I think of that. It's I guess my main like source of inspiration was coming from the media, just because I was in that mindset and reading about it all the time, and all my heavy metal magazines that I had, and but yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have a particular story that happened to me, but certainly big events in that sort of satanic panic news cycle that kept going on and on.
Yeah, for me, like when I was watching your pitch about the movie Headbanger, I remember when you were talking about like the satanic panic and all the controversy dealing with censorship.
Yeah.
It made me think of like the early 2000s, like maybe like late 90s, early 2000, when a lot of controversy was coming towards Eminem and Marilyn Manson, Limp Bizkit.
Oh yeah,
just over their lyrics because of what happened in Columbine, and they're trying to blame their music for the cause of Columbine. But it's like there was a bigger issue than just them listening to Marilyn Manson or Eminem.
Yeah,
it was more so like, they came from really messed up homes.
Yeah,
and coming from a messed up home, they have to go to a school where they were getting bullied and everything, and they didn't have anyone to really turn to. But it's so funny when the simplistic thing that people want to do is they blame music. They'd be like, oh, well, because of music, this is why this kid is the way he is. And it's like, no, that's not the reason.
At best, I mean, the music is sort of a reaction, it's sort of like and again, probably the only catharsis they have, a positive source of catharsis, that they can have, frustrated teenagers and stuff. It's crazy.
Yep. And that was like what they did with rap music, like when gangster rap was like really big in the 90s. I mean, I don't know how long you've been a Kelly guy, but when I was growing up, it was like Ice Cube, NWA, and
oh yeah,
and there was just like a big controversy over their lyrics also. They were like, oh, these people are just too violent,
Yeah,
why are they making music like this? And it's like, well, rap is just a reflection of what's going on in the environment.
absolutely. And the more pushback you give music, the more they're going to try to be outrageous, the more
Oh
outrageous
yeah,
it's going to get. So you're
yeah.
just feeding the fire by saying, oh, it's so bad and vulgar and all this stuff, and you're it's like, oh yeah, you want to see vulgar, I'll show you vulgar, you know.
Yeah, Eminem actually did that. I know for sure. Like when he came out with Marshall Mathers LP,
Mm.
and everybody was having that big controversy over his album. I'm like, I think I want to listen to this even more.
Absolutely. It makes it. I mean, I remember when I was first getting into heavy metal and having heard all this stuff, and I think one of the first like, I mean, I was buying like Van Halen and rock and roll stuff. But
Mhm.
like the first time I started getting into a little more darker, little darker stuff, was like Ozzy Osbourne, which is not even, it's like
Yeah,
ridiculous now.
yeah,
Well, like
yeah.
I remember being at the record store, like, should I buy this? Is it actually evil? Like, am I going to go to hell if I listen to this? This is like when I was like, I don't know, 11 years old or something, or 12, I
Yeah.
don't know. But it's like, is this really evil? And it's like, you listen to it, it's like, oh, this is awesome. But having that fear was like, it actually made it really cool in a way. Like,
Yeah.
wasn't just like, oh, I'm buying a record. It's like there's like a crazy, like, I don't know. There's a weird aura about it. At least when
Yeah.
you're a real little kid. But yeah, it's all silly. And to me, that the heavy metal thing, just the visuals that it offers and the fantasy element of it,
Mhm.
you know, uh, in this movie, we each death is sort of like and each character is sort of an embodiment of various subgenres of metal. Like we have a sci-fi nerd headbanger and he gets killed by like a sort of a sci-fi metal song, and like
Nice.
there's like a political conspiracy theorist character, and she gets killed by like the more political motivated song, and there's our main character Mark. He's more like a little more fantasy oriented. He
Mhm.
speaks in almost like a Shakespearean way, even. And so he's got that whole thing going, like the medieval sort of Ronnie James Dio thing going. Dragons and swords and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's such a fun world to explore. I mean, I just hope there's an audience out there who's as excited about it as I am.
Oh, I'm pretty sure there are. I mean, if they're fans of B horror movies or indie horror
Yeah.
movies, they'll be excited for this. I mean, I'm always excited for like anything B horror, indie horror, just as long like if it's like on the levels of like, I don't know if you've seen Terrifier before, but
No.
oh man.
I gotta see that. I keep hearing about it. Um,
Yeah, I mean it's like if you were to watch, I want to say Friday the 13th, but like ultraviolet.
it's awesome.
Friday the 13th mixed with like some Saw action,
Oh my
just,
God.
just ultra violent, ultra gory, just
That's awesome.
ridiculous.
And that's a great story too, right? That film was made for like next to no money and
Yeah.
it's just exploded, which is really cool. I mean, that's what horror does. I mean, horror has such a great fan base, and you make something that's kind of different and outrageous, and it can just blast off.
Yep. And that's how I felt about Terrifier when I saw it. I feel like I mean, I don't want to say I called it, but when I saw it, I was like, you know what? I feel like this is going to be the next big like slasher in like the whole horror community, because the movie itself is very, yeah, I mean, again, it was made next to nothing. And the stylization of this film, like the color corrections and everything,
Mm,
looks very like 80s inspired, indies
yeah,
inspired. It doesn't have that big budget look like a lot of like mainstream horror movies have. It
yeah,
feels very like B horror, humble, and just like the practical effects is just insane.
Yeah. And that's sort of what we're going for with this. I mean, we want it to feel sort of retro and, you know, see the film grain and but even the gore, we're going like it's going to be really over the top cartoony, like the blood will be like bright red, sort of like the Giallo films, you know, like Suspiria and stuff. Like
man, I love Suspiria.
Push the art design. Yeah, I just beautiful colors and but really just exaggerated and because we want the world to sort of reflect the tone of the look of the film, to reflect the tone of the sort of the over the top cartoony nature of it all, and the over the top, like you look at metal album covers and they're just like, you know, they're just over the top crazy, you know, in terms of color and just content, you know, of what's happening on the covers.
Yep. All right. So right now, Audie, we are going to take a break real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk more about your movie Headbangers, as well as talk a little bit about the Scooby Doo movie, because I have some questions for you, man.
All right. Let's do it.
Yep. So like you should say, audience, in a scary movie, I'll be right back. All right, and we are back, and I am with my guest, Audie Harrison. So let's continue from where we left off about the Headbangers movie. So you mentioned that you were in a band called Section 8. Yes. Oh my God, well, I don't know why I'm getting so tongue-tied saying it.
It's not a great band name. I give you that.
So I want to ask you, do you have any wild stories from when you were in that band? Nothing illegal.
Well,
nothing illegal.
I mean, like I was saying before, you know, I was kind of a good kid, so we didn't get into too much trouble. But I do have a crazy story. Where we had my parents let us take over our garage and turn it into our band practice room, and part of that was, you know, bringing in a cool couch and like, you know, have some place for our girlfriends to sit when they come over and watch us jam, you know, that kind of.
Oh, of course,
you know, and like blacklight posters and lava lamps and stuff. But also, like, you know, we had some little bit of land around us, you know, very small town again, but we still needed to soundproof the garage a little bit, you know.
Oh yeah,
mainly to just not disturbing, you know, my parents and stuff. But so we would always be on the lookout for like carpets and things like that we could hang on the walls. And one time we were driving around and we saw this huge roll of carpet and hanging out of a dumpster behind a store somewhere. I was like, oh, look at that. That'd be great to go on the wall. We could totally soundproof. So we grabbed the carpet and we put it. Our bass player had like a big truck. We could throw it in and brought it back to the place, and we get home. But on the way home, we're like, what does that smell? Like, smelling something.
Oh no!
And what is? Do you step in something? I don't know. We get back and we unroll the carpet on the driveway before even bringing it in, and it is filled with like baby toys and dog poop everywhere.
Oh,
I think it was dog poop, but I don't know what kind of poop it was.
I mean, if it came out of the trash can,
it was. But like we were such dumb teenagers, we were like, I mean, we were first freaked out, like, oh my God, what is the story with this? Like someone had their dog pooped all over the carpet and they just rolled it up and threw it in a dumpster. Cleaning it. So we were like, well, we can. You know, we were desperate. Like, we could clean it. Like, you know, we shovel. I remember like getting shovels, like shovel the toys and dog crap off of the carpet, and then we sprayed it down with a hose. You know, like just idiots. Like, oh, that should solve it. And we went ahead and hung it up, but it just still smelled like dog crap. So we ended up just getting rid of it. But I mean, that was like one of the just funny stories. gosh, I'm trying to think, so long ago now. It's like crazy, but that one always stands out. There was, I think there was a girl that there was like, we did have like a groupie that we all ended up dating at one point. The same girl. It was like very,
Oh
very
no.
weird. Uh,
I'm pretty sure the groupie situation is weird. I mean, I don't know how rappers or any entertainers do it these days. I'm
yeah,
just like, how can y'all date the same girl?
it's weird. It was strange. But yeah, I mean, it was such fun, such a fun time. And I moved around a lot growing up, and we actually lived in, this was in Maryland.
Mm,
And we were there for like between 8th grade and 10th grade. And during that time, I did all the stuff. And then we moved before I was a junior in high school. We moved to Minnesota, and I sort
mm.
of like started a whole new life there. I got really into film and all that stuff. But like, there was actually a good story where I I was living in Minnesota, getting into filmmaking and really interested in that. Um, but I'd also started working at like a movie theater, and like I saved up some money, bought a nice, pretty decent guitar for the first time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was still into music, but and then at some point I went back to Maryland to visit my old friends.
Yeah.
They actually drove out to Minnesota. I drove back with them, hung out, we jammed again. I brought my new guitar. It was awesome. I think we even recorded a song. And
Nice.
and then to go back, I took a Greyhound bus.
Mm.
And they had made me check my guitar. And I get to Minnesota, and my guitar is gone. They lost it
Oh,
somewhere along the trip.
oh
And
no.
and all they could give me as because I didn't like fully insure it or something, but they had some kind of insurance thing where they gave me like $250 for it, and it was like a $900 guitar or something.
Oh
It
no.
was a Gibson Nighthawk. It was really cool. Uh, but with that money, I was like, I bought a video camera, so it was like, that was like destiny. Had changed my whole career path in a weird way. But
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure we had crazy stories, of, we had a, yeah, I don't know.
It's definitely so long
It could
ago.
be a rabbit hole
Yeah.
if I open up that Pandora's box, like, oh man, should I even talk about that? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, like, that's why I said, like, nothing illegal, nothing that,
Yeah,
you're gonna be like, yeah, why
yeah.
did I tell that story?
Exactly. I'll tell the dog poop story. That's safe.
All right. So as your film is being going through Indiegogo funds, right? What are some of the perks that the audience should be aware of that you think that they might be interested in?
Yeah. Well, we've got our standard fare of stuff. I mean, and we have price points at like, everything from $5 to $10,000. Being very optimistic.
Yep. Yep.
But we've got the standard stuff like, t-shirts, DVDs, posters, signed posters, things like that. We've got a little more specific things to our movie, like guitar picks,
Okay.
temporary tattoos. But really, some really crazy stuff that we have is, if you've got a heavy metal band or band of any kind that has like a song that could be, from that era,
Mm,
if you donate at a certain level, like, we will put your song in our movie playing in the background somewhere. And we also have things like, be a victim in the movie, fun stuff like that, be a background character. And it's like, in these times especially, it's like, we're not saying pay us to be in our movie. It's just, donate, and that's a side perk. We want to be as like, we want people to feel like they're a part of the movie when they donate, so it's like,
yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, we have like, you know get your face painted onto an album cover that'll be featured in the movie.
Mm,
Get your face can appear on a fictitious heavy metal magazine prop that'll be in the movie.
oh,
um
nice.
so a lot of fun stuff that's really specific to our story and to our movie. But yeah, go check it out. Headbanger movie on Indiegogo.
Yeah. That
Lots
link will
lots of fun
be in
perks.
the bio, everybody. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
be on the lookout for that. And I will definitely post that to my Instagram. So
Awesome. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. You know what? Terrifier 2 did the same thing. They actually did a partial Indiegogo funding for
Mm.
Terrifier 2.
Oh wow.
And one of their perks, which I wish I got on because I love the film so much, was actually be a victim in the movie. So they actually
Yeah.
have people to be a victim in the movie. I don't know who was a victim in the movie, but I just know they had it for like one of the tiers, and I wish I got
It's
into that.
it's a fun thing because it's like you show up and you know you depending on what I don't know what they ended up doing with that, but I mean
Mm-hmm.
for us it's like there's a point in the movie where everyone at the party has been slaughtered. You know, you see it. Most of that you see off screen. You know, aside from our main characters who get their really fun, crazy deaths. But yeah, I mean, you get to be like a head, you know, get to wear a headbanger outfit, you know, like a denim vest and you know long
Yeah.
hair, whatever, and laying in a pool of blood. You know, what a day.
Nice, nice. You know, I like I like both trailer pitches that you did, the pitch trailer and the concept trailer. I feel like I like the concept trailer because of the music on there.
Yeah,
It's so like
it's
trippy.
that's Annihilator. That's Alice in Hell. I remember listening to it recently, like, and I was like, oh, I could totally just base the whole concept trailer on that, and uh, it's that was I did that first actually, just to kind of like try to try to explain the concept, the basic premise of the film.
Yeah. Yeah, but the pitch, I like the pitch because a lot of it kind of reminds me of like early 90s commercials and everything, especially when
Yeah,
you show like the different tiers and the people. And I can remember when you said the temporary tattoos, all I could think of was the guy who had his sleeve all rolled up and he's
yeah,
kind of posing with his muscle out
exactly.
with
Yeah,
the tattoo. I'm just like,
it's
yep.
hey, you know, and it's the Headbanger Brigade, you know, which is part of our promotion. Is like join the brigade, and that's Mark and his friends are got this little gang of headbangers called the Headbanger Brigade, and you can get a Headbanger Brigade pen, Headbanger Brigade sticker, or a
Mm-hmm.
temporary tattoo, and be part of that gang.
Yeah, it's an entertaining trailer. Everybody, y'all should actually check it out. It's an entertaining trailer.
Oh, thanks, thanks.
Yeah. So one question before we switch gears a little bit. So if money and death was non-existent, this is like a scenario question, by the
Okay.
way. So if death and money was not non-existent, all the actors would say, like, yes, I will do your movie for free.
Yes.
Who will be in your movie, living or dead,
Oh
and
my
from any
god.
era? Like, you know, you could have like I know Leo DiCaprio when he was doing Titanic, that era, or you could choose Leo from Wolf of Wall Street. Leo, you know.
Right, right. Well, Leo would be great as our lead. Um, you know, we've got this character who's kind of an older guy, kind of a doofus, and I always think Danny McBride for him. Gosh, let's see. I did this at some point. I kind of went down the gambit of went down the rabbit hole of uh sort of pretend casting.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I mean, Piper Laurie would be great, you know,
Oh
from that
yeah,
Carrie era,
yeah, yeah.
or even
Like
her
as the
character.
mom.
I mean, she's so good at playing that kind of character. Like, she played a similar kind of uh controlling character on Twin Peaks, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which was great.
I mean, if you don't have her, I mean, there's also Kathy Bates. She is
Oh, Kathy
also
Bates. I
when
mean,
she was in Misery.
you know who'd be great is Mama Fratelli from the Goonies, that actress. I
Mm,
mean, she's long gone, but you know, that's sort of like dream casting. You know, we've got this our lead is he's sort of the embodiment of heavy metal itself because he talks tough and looks tough, but he's
mhm.
kind of harmless deep down. He's kind of like a frightened little kid.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
which is heavy metal music. It's like it's harmless fun, but it looks awesome and crazy, you know.
Oh yeah.
And he speaks with like a, you know, like he's speaking heavy metal lyrics almost because he's almost like a weird medieval Shakespearean sort of metal speak. We kept calling it when we were writing it, but like a young Arnold Schwarzenegger, maybe without the muscles, but like that, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
who just
maybe
looks.
his son. His son
Yeah,
is a
maybe his
really good.
son.
His
Yeah,
son is a really good actor.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, someone like that, or gosh, who else did we have in mind? I don't know. That's a casting is like, to me, it's like you sort of get an idea in your head, and then you open the floodgates, and you let surprises happen, you know. uh and you try out different things, and you sort of find that character, and it's another level of finding the character. So, but yeah, gosh, I should have had a list already prepared,
It's okay. I
because you
mean,
never know when those opportunities will
you
strike,
never
right?
know. You never know. If I made a movie, I mean, I probably struggling. Also, I'll be like, I don't know if I want Margot Robbie. I don't know if I want
Yeah, yeah. I
Taraji
mean,
P Henson,
it,
or I don't
you know,
even know.
for the mother character, I did entertain, like, it would be great to get like a real heavy metal icon, like a man dressed in drag, you know, like Dee Snider
Oh
playing a woman, or
yeah,
Gene Simmons playing a evil woman, you know, or something crazy like that. But
mm-hmm.
you know, or just you know, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's gonna be fun. I mean, we're raising the money, and you know, we'll see where we end up with this crowdfunding, and then we'll keep at it in various other ways, and hopefully we can afford to get somebody special to fill one of those roles.
yeah. Hopefully. All right, so we're gonna switch gears for a moment, and we're gonna talk about Trick or Treat Scooby Doo. I
Yeah.
recently watched it. I am amazed by it. I love it. I One thing I do love about it's definitely a modern version, but a little subverted, but modern version of the old school Scooby Doo. Like,
Yes.
just like from the music down to like the different like comedy bits that they do, especially when they're running through the rooms,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
hiding behind like objects. It's amazing. Scooby and Shaggy, same way that they're always are eating up all the food.
Yep. Oh
It's
yeah.
amazing. It's amazing. I gotta say, what brought you into creating that film?
I mean, a lot of things sort of came together. You know, I've been working in the animation industry for a while, and you know, I helped develop Uncle Grandpa. I'm a supervising producer on that show. Developed a couple of, developed and made a couple of pilots for Cartoon Network. And you know, then I went on to do to I was at Disney developing stuff for a while. A lot of development, a lot of development stuff. And then I was head of story on a movie at Sony for a little while, and that movie ended up kind of falling apart because COVID happened, and they couldn't sustain the production, because
Oh
there's just
yeah.
a lot of unknowns. But that movie, without going into detail what it was, sort of hit those genre notes of comedy and horror. Um, so I had that, and then I was just taking meetings, you know, in various places, and people knew my work, and they knew my pilots, and at Warner Brothers, they had actually two Scooby movies in the pipeline that they brought me in to do. They thought I'd be a good fit for it, for the comedy, and you know, I expressed my love and passion for Scooby Doo, which I've had since a kid, and they brought me in. There was little to no time. There was already a script. I did a fast rewrite on it to make
Mm-hmm.
it more my cup of tea, more silly and funny. And again, my mantra going into that was I want it to be more like Airplane, you know, Naked Gun,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because these characters, they're sort of, you know, they're drawn, but they've got realistic proportions, and they're not like
Mm-hmm.
super cartoony, but
Yeah.
the things they can do, I mean, Scooby and Shaggy are pretty cartoony, but the things like they do in Airplane and Naked Gun and those movies are more cartoony than most cartoons, you know, more ridiculous. So I approach it that way, like it's a live action movie sort of that we can just get ridiculous with. But yeah, we had two movies. And the first one was Trick or Treat Scooby Doo. Came in,
Mm-hmm.
rewrote the script, and my big thing was I wanted to look like the old show that I love, Scooby Doo, Where Are You? We had no time to redesign stuff, so we used the designs from Guess Who Scooby Doo because those were very close. Those were designed with that same intention to sort of update the old look, but stay true to it, but modernize it slightly in subtle ways. But yeah, I mean, we got lucky with a great team and all that, and then we made another movie that it's sort of become, people kind of know about it now, but it got right around the time Trick or Treat Scooby Doo came out. This was David Zaslav took over Warner Brothers and was basically canceling everything that wasn't done, like just for tax write-off. So we got our second movie. Our second movie was in animation. It was set to be finished in like a couple months, and we got axed at the last second, which was really sad because it was going to be crazy fun and crazy over the top. But we got Trick or Treat out, luckily, which was, looking around at my peers in animation, it was like everyone's getting stuff done, axed. At least we got one movie out.
Yeah, this is during the time where Max was cutting like all those departments, right?
All of that, yeah. They were taking things off streaming, and that's when they can't. I started catching wind of it because they canceled the big CG Scooby Doo movie, Holiday Haunt, that was going to come out. And that was like basically done. They canceled that. They canceled the Batgirl movie.
They caught a lot of flack for that one.
Yeah, and then it was just going out. It's like, oh man, we're totally next. So by the time it happened, it was like I knew it, but it was pretty sad. I mean, so I was talking earlier about the feeling the effect of the corporate greed. Definitely felt it firsthand, and I'm rooting for our writers and actors to get a fair deal. But yeah, what was the question? Like, how was it? Yeah, it was just kind of, it wasn't anything crazy other than just luck, and being at the right time at the right place. And I kept saying and feeling this all the way through. It was such a fun sandbox to play in, such a fun playground to be in with those characters and the world of, spooky stories and trying to write and to solve a mystery. It's such a fun world to be in, for sure.
Yeah. From your interview with Southgate Media, I noticed you mentioned about a little controversy dealing with Velma, man.
Oh yeah. Well, that was a crazy thing about it. It was just like there was something. What was great about working on this movie is we felt like we were under the radar. Like they were letting us. Part of it was there was no time. Like everything was rushed, and there was no time to second guess what we were doing and to nitpick what we were doing. And so that element was in the original screenplay I read, and I was like, oh, that's cool. They're doing that.
I do like the fact that you guys went that route, and it was more so you guys made the focus on Velma liking a person that's a villain versus it being like, oh my god, she's liking a girl. Like,
exactly. I mean, I feel like that's the only way I know how to write it, and it's like, and it's like, what's good? Where's the comedy? First of all, that's my first sort of approach to anything. Like, where's the comedy engine? Well, she's an awkward teenager and she's self-conscious and she's got a crush, and Velma's such a fun character. Kate Micucci, who does the voice, she's so funny and just went with it and she just delivered a top-notch performance. And but yeah, that was definitely a goal. Is like no one cares in our movie, and no one even comments on it, other than like, Velma, just chill out, like be yourself, So I mean, now that was cool, and that was part of the rewrite, is just to find more comedy throughout, like not only with that, but just the whole story. There was a more heavy-handed sort of mystery resolution in the original version, where it was a different villain and a different different dynamic, but it was like the villain was doing it because her dad didn't spend enough time with her growing up. And I was like, oh man, that's just sad. Like,
Yeah.
I want. And so it was my number one thing was like, I want to make the reveal of the villain and their motive be funny and stupid, not so like tried really hard to do that, and it was fun. I mean, I just had great people come in and help us from the art side to the writing side to every element. And then, like I said, the second movie was gonna be everything Trick or Treat was like amped up to 11, literally, because there was like a heavy metal subplot in it, and it was the Hex Girls were going to be in it. All this stuff has sort of leaked, not by me already, but like but yeah, it's a real shame, but
yeah, it's a shame that we won't be able to see it.
I know. I mean, one day, I mean, they've talked about like maybe we can repackage it or something, you know, as pitching it. So I don't know. It's probably, you know, it's probably no way of doing it because it was a tax write-off. So it's probably like legally they can't resurrect it in any form. I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works.
We'll just wait till it hits like the public domain.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Scooby Doo public domain. We're still alive by then.
And everything.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Did you watch that movie, by the way? Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
No, I didn't. I'm so curious about it. Is it good? Is it worth it?
For me, I would say like it's hilarious to watch because it is really over the top, and it's like a movie that no one expects to, in a way, be slightly good. I mean, if you like silly horror movies and you don't mind it like being as goofy as it is, it's a good movie. Yeah. if you're someone that's like, this is Winnie the Pooh, bro, like, no, this is not it.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
But I enjoyed Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I know probably like a lot of people who are listening to this are probably like, Doom, what are you talking about? Like, how can you like that movie?
I love, you know, the cheesier and weirder the better. That's awesome. I gotta check that out.
So one more thing before we switch gears a bit again. So I liked in the film for the Scooby Doo movie, you made an emphasis on Daphne and her having an existential crisis with the group. I like that feeling that you did, and for the simple fact, I mean, I don't know if I'm really giving away. I don't know if I should give away what happens at the end or not, but she does go through like a change.
Yeah.
Where she starts to appreciate herself, and Fred kind of like gives her that reassurance and everything. And I do like that. But it was funny because like when I was watching it, I was like, you know what? Daphne is kind of useless.
Well, yeah, it was like I you know, coming back to the franchise after, you know, watching it and loving it as a kid, and it's like, okay, everyone has a clear like job, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
Or at least Daphne, you know, she I mean, typically I can't really call it a job, but she was the one who would get kidnapped or in trouble, you know.
Right. She had that Lois Lane effect, you know.
Yeah. I mean, she's smart. I mean, she was kind of Fred and her were sort of seemed like the two leaders, and you know, reading about like, because there are so many. First of all, there's so many movies, and then there's countless TV shows. So just reading about all the canon, because I had no time to watch every possible episode, but you know, she also knows kung fu and all this stuff, and it's like, okay, but like, who is she? And then we kept talking about that when we were writing it. It's like, what did, and it was like, well, let's give that to her. Like, who is she? What do I do? And you know, at first it was like, I don't know, it's kind of cynical, but then we realized, like, at the end, like, oh, she's the leader, you know, and we make a joke out of it because Fred is such a dummy. Like you're the leader. What are you talking about? I drive the van, you know. I do much more important work. So it was, you know, we got to have some heart, but at the same time doing it with some laughs. So
yeah, I kind of like the fact that y'all took the way Fred is. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys did this movie before the Velma series came out.
We did, yeah, and that was a debacle too. That happened.
We're not going to talk about Velma too much.
No, we shouldn't. But just the timing of it all, like again, speaking about being under the radar, like everyone was kind of asleep at the wheel when our movie came out. No one expected, and I even kind of forgot that, the cool thing we did with Velma, like, because it was like, oh yeah, whatever, like that's just how it is, how it should be, right? Like, why make a big deal out of it?
Right.
But it came out, and all of a sudden we were trending, and it was like, it was broke. It was on SNL, it was on Fox News. It was like, everyone was talking about it. Bill Maher. It was like crazy. Like, it was my 15 minutes of something there.
Yeah.
But that was right at the same time they were announcing all the stuff about the Velma series at New York Comic Con, and I think a lot of people were like, their heads were spinning. Oh no, they're in a panic. Like, we screwed up in terms of, the PR and all that stuff. And I remember, that day that our movie came out and people were talking about it, like, I got all these calls from like NPR and some other places, like asking, doing like little tidbit interviews with me. And I was like, oh yeah, we did this, blah, blah, blah. And then like 5 a.m. the next day, I get a call from Warner Brothers PR, like, don't talk to anybody yet. We're still trying to figure out how to handle this. Oh my God. Anyway, it's not to speak too ill will of people, but
right. I think enough people talk enough ill will about the Velma series.
Yeah.
Last question. What do you want your audience to take away from watching the Headbangers movie when they're watching this? Well, after they're done watching it.
When they're done, well, I think it's a smile on their face because it was so funny and silly. I think B, like, the way the story works out, it's all about like just celebrating the joys of heavy metal and the real purpose of heavy metal, which, and music in general, is to just, when you have a bad day, turn on some music and wipe the tears away.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the overall theme that is presented by the end of the movie. But it's also, there's also like a throwback quality to the film, both in terms of 80s comedies and even like 80s horror. There's, like I mentioned, there's a robot character. Every 80s comedy had a robot in it.
Yeah.
Or not even Rocky IV had a robot in it. Like there's every movie had a robot in it. So we've got our own little heavy metal robot friend. So there's a throwback and an appreciation for that time period.
Interesting error. Like, just like late 80s, early 90s. I don't know if you remember that show Small Wonder.
Oh yeah. Everyone had a robot. Everything was robot. And now we live in a time where like robots are kind of coming, along with AI. Like, where are all the robot shows and all the robot movies? I don't know. Maybe they're out there. I don't know. But that's, it was a thing. So yeah, it's just the comedy, the over the top. The gore will be really fun and crazy. The more money we can get, the crazier we can go with it. But we'll find a way, even when it's, I want to, I stress this in some of the lookbooks and stuff I've been putting together, that, the comedy and the idea behind the gore and the kills is going to be more important than the realism of it. Because it's that kind of movie, where it's like,
oh yeah,
just it'll look kind of cheesy maybe, but it's gonna be funny or just wild. The idea behind it will be wild.
Definitely. All right, well, thank you, Audie, for coming to the show, man.
Oh, thank you. This was fun.
Yep. So once again, what are the social medias that you are on for the audience?
Yeah, Headbanger Movie on Instagram, Headbanger on Facebook. Audie Harrison, all one word, on Twitter, and that's everything. I'm on LinkedIn too, but that's that's trying to get an animation job.
All right, so when we come back, you guys, we're gonna have the Slasher Corner with Audie, so we'll be right back. All right, y'all. So welcome to the Slasher Corner, where I have a Slasher Corner movie of the week. And as y'all know, each time I have a guest, I let my guest choose the movie for you guys. So right now, Audie, what movie do you have for the audience?
Well, I had to think about it for a minute. I wanted to pick something maybe a lot of people haven't seen, and just to draw attention to it. And it's an older movie. It's an old Roger Corman horror movie, which I love his old stuff. His low budget, he made hundreds of films and actually gave us a slew of amazing filmmakers. Everyone from Francis Coppola to Scorsese to everyone worked for Corman at some time in their early career, and he's sort of he's like the godfather of modern film in a way because of that. But anyway, the movie is Bucket of Blood.
Okay.
And I what I love about it is, it's sort of a twisted view of creativity. It stars Dick Miller, who's sort of a genre actor. He was in like Terminator and stuff later on, and his little bit parts, character actor. But it's about this kind of dopey guy who works at like a cafe or something, and he wants to be, he sees an artist or sees something, he learns about art, he wants to try to be creative, and so he goes home and he tries to sculpt something, and he's really bad at it, and everyone laughs at him or something. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it definitely had an effect. And so at some point there's this cat, and he kills the cat, puts a knife through it, and then he gets this idea and he covers the cat in clay and he brings it in. It's like, oh my God, this is really cool art. He becomes like this sort of trendy artist all of a sudden. Everyone's giving him attention, and so he where does he go from there? He starts killing people and putting them in clay, and it's just great. I mean, because it's sort of about like like a dummy trying to do the quick transition into becoming creative, and
yeah, it sounds like that. It sounds like that Jake Gyllenhaal movie a little bit. Nightcrawler, I think.
Oh yeah, it's got that kind of creepy vibe about him, but it also has like this cool, like kind of, it's got kind of a rock and roll sort of soundtrack, and it's kind of it's like 1960s, probably early 60s vibe to it, like Beat Poet kind of cool vibe to it. But yeah, I just remembered it because I recently purchased a poster for it. And the poster is great because it has nothing to do with the movie. It's just a cartoon drawings of people like reacting to how scary the movie is. Like little comic strips of which I love the poster, but like the movie itself is actually is not advertised on the poster, but it's really cool.
Nice. And what's the name of the movie again?
A Bucket of Blood.
All right. So if y'all want to check that out, Bucket of Blood, check it out, y'all.
Yeah, all right. It's probably out there somewhere on one of the streaming services.
Right. All right. So that is the show for today. Thank you, Audie, once again for coming to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is super fun.
Yep. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you coming on, man. And I'm glad that you had a good time, talking with me today. You're always welcome to come back if you want to come back to the show, talk about whatever project you come out with.
Yeah, well, I might be doing another Kickstarter for Headbanger. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah,
right.
If you love movies out there, if you love movies like Evil Dead, Return of the Living Dead, Dead Alive, horror comedy, it's my favorite genre. If you like movies like that and want to see more made, then come check out our Indiegogo page.
Yep. I will have that linked in the bio for you all. And as you know, this has been another episode of Let's Talk About Horror. If you want to follow me on the social medias, those social medias are Walterdoom on Instagram, the Walterdoom on TikTok and Twitter, Walterdoom Horror on YouTube, and Walterdoom wherever else is involving podcast streaming. So I will check you guys out later. This is America. Don't let them catch you slipping now. Stay diabolical, people. Peace.